Most people recognize Hunter x Hunter 2011 as a masterpiece, and so do I. Now this is mainly because of the story and the characters. What about the soundtrack? Let's take a look, shall we? Now many anime utilize their openings inside the anime in some form or another, but Hunter x Hunter does this in a surprisingly big fashion. Not only does Hunter x Hunter utilize its opening in 2 or 3 different versions during the anime, it also uses the various ending themes that Hunter x Hunter has. Now this is a pretty well known trick. What it does is that it plays with the minds of the viewers. Humans normally have a habit of associating certain sounds with other things well known to that individual person. For example, with any given sad scene in an anime, it's almost always accompanied by a sad track. If we then hear that same track without any context, we'll most likely immediately associate the track with the scene it was originally played in. So by incorporating their openings and endings in the soundtrack, Hunter x Hunter takes advantage of the fact that people associate the opening and ending with what the anime stands for and the hype that it creates. By using, for example, the opening in the middle of the episode as part of the soundtrack, our minds immediately associate it with the hype that it creates. That way we unconsciously know that something is happening or about to happen. There are many well-known scenes in Hunter x Hunter, but when it comes to the soundtrack utilized by the anime, one of the most well-known ones is the Requiem played when the Phantom Troop invades the Yorkshire City auction. As some of you may know, the track played during the raid isn't an original track from the Hunter x Hunter soundtrack. Rather, a large part of it is a Mozart piece called Lacrimosa, which is a part of Mozart's last composition called Requiem in D minor. This is a nice little touch that not many soundtracks choose to utilize. Also, a thing to note is that in the Chimera Ant arc, Hunter x Hunter also utilized Poof and his violin skills to further enhance each specific situation. This can easily further improve a soundtrack since the characters themselves get involved, which for one thing makes the soundtrack very noticeable, and also just adds some very nice tracks to the series itself. Anyway, now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's take a look at some of the individual soundtracks used in Hunter x Hunter. The first one we're going to be taking a look at is the World of Adventures. Now I know most people won't recognize it by name, but most will probably know it when I say that it's Gon's theme. Anyway, I'll play a short clip to let you know which one I'm referring to.
次回試験の試験お楽しみに
Now this is arguably one of, if not the most iconic track in the Hunter x Hunter soundtrack, and for good reason. This track basically embodies what a large part of the anime is about. It does exactly what it's supposed to do, and it does it phenomenally. No matter what part of the anime you're watching, when this track plays you know it's time for an adventure, and it perfectly hypes you up for that. Hunter x Hunter also has a different version of this track incorporated in the soundtrack called Hunter March, which is basically the same track but with a slightly slower pace and not as many instruments. The point is, like I mentioned, for the most part this track embodies what Hunter x Hunter is all about. Now there are exceptions in Hunter x Hunter where this track doesn't exactly embody what the arc's about. Here I'm mainly talking about the Phantom Troop and Chimera Ant arc. The next individual soundtrack I'll take a look at is Kusari Yarou, otherwise known as Kurapika's theme.
その目思い出したぜ。こそこそ奥地で暮らしてたやつら団長がいたく気に入ってたぜ。あいつら強かったな。
A lot of the Hunter x Hunter soundtracks are very upbeat and adventure oriented. This theme is one of the ones that showcase the darker side of Hunter x Hunter. Instead of going with violin, flute or other such instruments, this mainly consists of a badass guitar riff, with some other elements to it. I'll get further into that, don't worry. Later in the song, aside from the bass that gets thrown in, which just further goes with the rock theme, they start incorporating piano into the track in a way that's, let's just say, unorthodox. It seems very random, but also intense. It almost adds a sense of madness to the track, which I think is exactly the point. We have to remember that this is the theme of Kurapika, whose life is built on revenge. The piano is most likely showcasing how the maddening thought of revenge is placed deep inside him, since the piano is used as a second layer. To finish off the rant about Hunter x Hunter's soundtrack, I want to showcase, in my opinion, one of the best soundtracks that Hunter x Hunter has to offer. Though there are many good ones, I'm especially fond of this particular one. It's called Hegemony of the Food Chain.
カムル
吠える間も変形の隙も与えることなくユピーの自由を奪う圧倒的な初動の差。キルアの
This track is mainly known for being played during the standoff between Gon and Pito, when Pito is healing Komugi and Gon is just staring her down, waiting. The thing is, many musical composers tend to get very symbolic when they write a piece. And unless I interpret it completely wrong, it's clear to see the correlation in this track. What I'm talking about is most noticeable in the first 2 minutes, but hear me out on this one. The name basically says it all. It's all about the food chain, or at least it is in a symbolic way. The track starts off kinda slow with very little sound and a very slow pace, but slowly as we get further into the track, not only does the track start using more instruments, but the pace is slowly picking up along with the loudness of the music. Basically, we're slowly ascending through the food chain, starting off with the lowest authority with a slow-paced violin and ending up with an electric guitar riff. After getting to the top point with the electric guitar, it continuously goes up and down and focuses more on creating or further amplifying tension. All in all, Hunter x Hunter has a very diverse soundtrack, ranging from slow violin and flute to electric guitar pieces. Let me know your opinions in the comments. Anyway, that's about it for this video. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe, whatever you're feeling up to, and I'll see you on the next video.